Hi there, welcome to Terrorland. No, we're not doing Terrorland. I have another channel called Terrorland Soap Opera, but this is I Alone Fly, and on this channel we do different spreads. Right now I'm kind of liking this 10-card spread, so on the other channel I just do 2 rows, but anyway, we're going to do a tarot card reading for Scorpio energy, and Scorpio is water sign energy. You know, it can have to do with that we're emotionally complex human beings, and it's confusing to be a human being emotionally. And some people want to work through it so that they can keep aligning with their more loving nature and learn how to work with it so they can have deep, meaningful relationships. Some other people choose to give up on it. They'd rather not deal with their confusing emotions, kind of use them as they need them, but not really tap that deeply into them. Scorpio with the Sith card here, and in regular tarot it's represented by the Death card. Some people just don't want to deal with their emotions that much because it is confusing, and they can just be a little more emotionally shallow and superficial. They might not think they're important. The reason for the reading is the fire sign energy, which can be where people think, I can just use my emotions and my sexuality and my looks and my charm or my money. I can kind of use all of them in a more manipulative way to get what I want. I don't really have to be a loving person or a just and fair person. I can just create the illusion that I'm that kind of person, and people will probably be in a relationship with me, right? So, some people in the trumpet card, some people, they're more about themselves. More fired up about the world, ego, image, money, materialism, or just more about themselves. Other people are more inspired by love, and we just need to see through the illusion of people, because at the end of the reading, the outcome is the fish card, which is kind of like Pisces energy. Emotionally, do we have a dream of being in relationships that are deep and meaningful, or shadowy people might want to be in a relationship with someone who's loving and nurturing and authentic and warm, but they just want to create an illusion of being that type of person? And eventually you kind of feel like you're in a relationship with someone who's just indulging themselves in a relationship with you, that it really isn't their truth. And then you don't want to keep being in a relationship with them because it's more about creating an illusion than being authentic. So, what could be going on in Scorpio energy? We have the Judication card, the Sith card, and the short illness. You know, you can try to hide the truth from people, and you can hide the truth from some of the people some of the time, but you can't hide the truth from all of the people all the time. And some people, shadowy fire sign energy, can just be, again, people more caught up in the world, more motivated by that than love. That's what's most important. Or more about themselves, or they're kind of immature, got some lessons learned in life. Some of those people are facing judgment. Again, other people already called judgment on them and ended a relationship with them. The Sith card also says Libra. People want justice and fairness. Love is supposed to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. If you create the illusion and you present yourself as this just and fair person who, I'm not selfish, I'm not greedy, I'm not more materialistically or self-motivated, I'm inspired by love, and then people find out that you're not, well, that's not just and fair. You were trying to kind of manipulate the system without really being just and fair and being authentic, harnessing high vibe fire sign energy. You're not motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. You might live more from your mind than your heart, thinking you're so smart you can just manipulate people to get them to do what they want. Again, use your charm, use your status, use your emotions and your sexuality and all these things in a more manipulative way. Well, that's not just and fair. And eventually other people listen to their intuition. The fulfillment card is kind of like the Pisces card of kind of like 9 of Cups and what we find emotionally fulfilling. I'm done indulging people in their illusions, and I'm no longer in illusion about you. And the short illness can just be that people are tipped out of balance. High vibe Libra is people who are balanced. I've offset being more about myself or being immature or bossy or controlling or prideful or egotistical or lazy or whatever, being more about me. And other people see that some of these other people haven't. They're still more about trying to manipulate the system. There's some things they haven't healed from emotionally. And they operate more from their ego nature or defensive nature or prideful nature or whatever. So some people are calling judgment on some people. Some other people already did. Other people have already kind of in the process of moving through this. Other people are just in the process of getting into this. Some people think it's just and fair to keep repeating these old patterns. Life's about learning lessons in life, but you have to be motivated to even want to learn lessons, to grow and heal and mature yourself, to act with character and integrity. And some people are like, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to keep repeating this past pattern. I have this way of viewing life. This works for me. I think it's just and fair. Well, then you need to go find someone, who agrees with you, but I don't. Because we can all be in workplaces, friendships, and relationships, and if people start to repeat some poor past patterns, and you could view the past life as like the Six of Cups card, which is Scorpio energy. I have worked together with people is what the Six of Cups talks about, and I'm working together right now with some people. I'm trying to maintain balance so that we can keep moving forward, that, being loving and encouraging of each other so we can work through our fears and our insecurities and our self-limiting beliefs to keep believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams. And then you get in a relationship with someone who somewhere along the line, or maybe you didn't realize, we can all be attracted to people because it is kind of in our comfort zone, and we'll all repeat past patterns until we kind of realize, oh my God, I'm repeating a past pattern. I have been in relationships with people who have these certain traits and characteristics, and I'm trying to maybe make them love me or like me, and it's like, why do I do that? If I see someone is kind of acting in ways that I don't like, we can kind of get in our ego about it. Like, oh, I'm going to go change that person. Or that's my comfort zone. I know how to deal with people like that. I could have grown up with some people like that or whatever. I'm going to go repeat this past pattern. And we're kind of tempted by that because it's a comfort zone. It doesn't challenge us to be more bold and brave and confident, to work through those issues. The mice card can talk about these things that kind of eat away at us. And if we keep repeating certain patterns and we're in relationships with people who like us repeating that pattern, where we don't kind of work through those things that eat away at the foundation of who we are, our fear, our insecurity, our pride, our ego, our more immature, self-indulgent, lustful, lazy, codependent nature, well, then we'll keep staying in a relationship with them. And if they kind of have their own issues that they don't want to work through, well, then that's great. We're both kind of repeating an old pattern of living life a certain way, and we're staying in our comfort zone. Then we have the Lilith card, which says Scorpio. And then we have the Wealthy Man, which I view as the King of Pentacles, Capricorn energy. Our own shadow nature. And at the big picture, shadowy energy is kind of represented by the devil. At the big picture, high vibe energy is represented by God. We live in a world of duality. We have the knowledge of the tree and good and evil. We have free will to choose to align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature or not. So shadowy energy, represented by the devil at the big picture, doesn't want us to give birth to anything new, wants us to decide, to think it's just and fair, to keep staying more immature and fired up more about the world and ourself and our ego, and to keep repeating this old pattern. So negative energy doesn't want us to give birth to anything new. High vibe energy, represented by God, wants us to give birth to new things. You know, if nobody ever gave birth to new things, we'd still be cave people, right? Thank goodness, you know, I'm grateful for indoor plumbing and cell phones and airplanes and heart surgery, right? But we were all given our own unique talents, skills, and interests. You know, we've all been given our unique talent, skills, and interests, our own inspiration, our own creativity, our own authentic truth. And ours is different than other people. But high vibe energy is about being independent to shine your authentic light in the world. Does that mean you're going to be as like famous or whatever, blah, blah, blah? No, everybody has their own unique thing that they can give to the world. Maybe help people look at life differently, you know? I don't know why. A lot of times when I talk about that stuff, I kind of think about, you know, the different things people are interested in. And, you know, look at the people who are really interested in bugs and, you know, got into looking at them and watching their behavior. And we as human beings have learned so much from books like that. I haven't read any, but I kind of seen articles and different little videos that we kind of learned so much about our own behavior in a way by watching how different like ants and bees and all that stuff and how they work together to have this sense of abundance in their life when they all work together, right? But we all can either make our life more about indulging ourselves, and the mouse card says the second house, which is Taurus energy, which kind of has to do with our philosophy of life. And it's hard to change our philosophy of life. We grow up in families, we grow up in communities, we grow up in certain states and countries and parts of the world. And the people that are in those areas with us and our parents and all those people have their opinions in their Taurus energy of what they think is just and fair and how you should live your life. And some of those people, you know, needless, are a human being. They got some of their own issues, of their own fears and their own insecurities, or being bossy or controlling or immature or defensive emotionally, or being loving and being warm, or being more prideful and egotistical. And, you know, we kind of have these viewpoints of what is kind of just and fair in workplaces and friendships and relationships because of the world that we live in, right? And people that we've grown up with. And we, of course, want, when we were younger, we could have all had a dream, and we can grow up in families and we could think, boy, when I have kids, I'm not going to treat my kids like that, or I'm not going to do that, or I see how the thing is, if we kind of don't work through, we could all say that. And I would think maybe depending on how old you are, if you kind of look back on your life and some of these certain patterns, we can have some things from those past life experiences of growing up that kind of eat away at our foundation. When we're young, we can always wish that other people, were the answer to all our problems, and they were motivated and inspired to love us and encourage us, and and then we're dealing with regular human beings, and it kind of doesn't work out that way, and we can have some past pain and heartbreak about it, and then kind of in our ego nature, we can be drawn and attracted to certain people who have some of those same, maybe not exactly the same, but maybe in their Scorpio nature, they're not very loving and warm and encouraging. Could they have been a pretty just and fair person and kind of encouraging in their own way? But we could have felt like we didn't have a more emotionally deep, meaningful relationship with them in Scorpio energy. And, and then as you grow up and you live your life, you kind of realize that we kind of do the best we can, and hopefully we communicate if we have children and friends and family members that we love them and we appreciate them and believe in them. And but no one else can really. We only know what, to a degree, what we would really know what would be really emotionally fulfilling. And then high vibe Pisces is about being more independent and learning to fill our own cup emotionally. And then when we offer love to the past and, we live our life, we kind of see how we could have repeated some old patterns, how we did repeat some patterns, how we went through our own issues, and we kind of realized that, and we could even see how we could have repeated some of those patterns that we said we were never going to do. And we just offer love and compassion and forgiveness to ourselves, and kind of seeing the truth of how the same things within me that can eat away at me, that can make me more codependent on the world and make my life more about the world and get more caught up in maybe other people or status or ego and image, that could kind of take away from the deep connection that I could have with people. We could kind of realize we're repeating some of those same patterns. And high vibe people could have realized that. They could have gotten in relationships with some people and realized, I keep repeating this pattern. I don't want to repeat this pattern. I need to be in a relationship. I need to work through my own issues that kind of make me be drawn and attracted to certain people. And I think we are drawn and attracted to certain people because those are the people, it kind of will be the person and people in our life that kind of force us to deal with these ways of viewing ourselves and others and the world, and to force us kind of to have to work through it, because otherwise we will be staying in a relationship with some people where people we could feel, I don't know, maybe more about conforming to the world, indulging poor behavior in ourselves, in others. And it's like, why do I do that? I had a dream. I view the wealthy man, like I said, as the King of Pentacles, which is Capricorn energy. Shadowy Capricorn energy is represented by the devil. I have to free myself from my own issues and learn to hold myself accountable. I can hold other people accountable, but if I haven't changed who I am and how I view myself and what I think is just and fair, and if I don't see the truth about how I've maybe repeated certain patterns, and you kind of plant certain seeds, you're going to get certain outcomes. So the only person I can change, and I kind of view the mouse card as like the Five of Pentacles, and the fives can talk about change. The only person I can change is me. And I could be a very loving, encouraging person who tries to help other people work through those issues and become more independent. But, the people have to be inspired within themselves to want to change. And sometimes people, that does take a lot of work and effort. It's hard to deal with those issues. We all just want to feel better, and we can be tempted, kind of in the Lilith card. What's it say? It says, sensual, powerful, female, sexual, wild, untamed passion, independence, and mystery. In a more shadowy way, emotionally, we would just like to feel better, and we'd like to have things the way we want it. And the devil can be about the quick fix, but it's not really a long-term solution. It might drag our life into hell. And so people start to realize, if I don't want to repeat these certain patterns, I have to learn to love myself, offer love to the past. Can there be people in my life that I love, but do I stay in more codependent energy with them where I'm not more independent? Some people want to keep repeating, like almost like following a template of how other people in their life they live their life this way, I need to live my life that way, because otherwise I have some inner conflict and stuff about taking more bold, brave confidence within myself to go live my more authentic life. And what if it doesn't work? So they kind of don't kind of harness their fire sign energy in being more motivated to be more independent. Let's just conform to the world, or I know, let's do things like my parents did things or something, and you act like this and I'll act like this, and when I say this, you say that. I mean, for some people it's pretty extreme. And we can love people and they could find living their life like that, or just making their life more about the world or more about themselves. They're fine with it. They find it emotionally fulfilling to live their life that way, especially if they're just more about themselves, or think, I'll just use all my resources that I have to just try to manipulate people to get them in a relationship, because they might not think they have much belief in themselves, kind of a lack mentality, that people would really want to be in a relationship with them more for love, and that maybe if I look this way, or I act this way, or I dress this way, or I have a certain status or power or financial wealth, then people will stay in a relationship with me. And those people also are kind of indulging in the relationship for as long as it works. But the problem is, if they get in relationships with people who really are more high vibrational, who are wanting to work together with them, who want to move forward with them, but they keep having this other philosophy of way of viewing life and relationships, and the masculine cards can just represent that people are operating more from their egoic nature than their more emotionally intuitive, loving nature to guide them. And then other people don't really like to be in a relationship with them, because at shadowy Scorpio, it can seem kind of superficial and shallow. And again, you could feel like people are kind of indulging in a relationship with you. Let's go look at this card that's not showing itself, the caregiver. Yeah, some people like to play that role in people's life. Like, I'm going to go get someone who kind of likes to manipulate people and kind of uses their intuition in a shadowy way. I want to have people view me as a stable, grounded person for them to go into business with, to be a friend, to get in a relationship with, to marry. What I'm hiding from them is I kind of like them kind of being in these conflicted energies, because I like them to be maybe more codependent on me as a caregiver. That's the role that some people, and that could be a pattern that they have or has seen work for other people. And so then they've decided that's how they're going to live their life. And so they can meet people who, the Sith and the Death card talks about something ended, and people cannot be feeling in the best of spirits and kind of reflecting on the past, and that they had a dream they wanted to have come into reality, but maybe that dream didn't come into reality, and, they want to find a new job, a new friend, a new relationship. And that's when there's some shadowy people who come into people's lives trying to present themselves as a more high vibrational person than they really are. Like, you should look to me. You should look to me, like to be God in your life, basically. And if you ever get to where you don't need more like a caregiver, because during the course of this relationship, again, you can meet people who, the reason why you keep being in a relationship with them and staying friends with them is because they do seem like you. They seem like they're very loving, nurturing people. But the only thing is, once you do, through the course of the relationship, work through some of your issues to those things no longer manipulate you the way they used to, just self-limiting beliefs, past pain and heartbreak, or whatever, that you're kind of now free of some things that used to manipulate you, and now you're kind of on the same page, maybe, well, then they don't like it because now you don't need a caregiver. You became a caregiver to yourself. Now you're looking for someone to be more of a just and fair and balanced relationship with you. I don't need you to play that role in my life. Let's go on kind of this journey of life. And now I've healed kind of and worked through some of those things. And that's when some of those people are like, well, this is how I do life, though. I mean, if you don't look to me to be that type of person, that's kind of how I define myself. And it makes me feel maybe proud of myself, and I didn't want to do life any differently. This was my idea of the dream life. For some, and for some, um, they're not much of a caregiver. They're not very loving and nurturing, but you could have gotten in a relationship with them. You could have gotten a job. They present themselves as these just and fair and stable, grounded, emotionally mature people. And then as you get in the relationship more, you kind of realize, and you could be loving and encouraging to try to help them work through some of those things. And they're like, no, I don't want to work through those things. And then you're kind of on different pages. And it's like, well, my idea of the dream life and how I thought things were going to move forward is different than your idea of the dream life. And then, too, you could have been hoping someone would become a more emotionally nurturing, loving person, but they could, again, I kind of use my things of the world to try to get people to stay in a relationship with me. And I don't want to work through why I don't want to be in a more deep, meaningful relationship. And this is how I want to keep moving forward. And other people decide, well, this isn't how I want to keep moving forward. Our ideas of how we thought we were going to move forward is I thought we were all going to learn lessons and heal and grow. And some people, again, like a more imbalanced, codependent type relationship. You can even be in friendships with people, and you could have been someone who is looking for a stable, grounded, someone who seemed more loving and nurturing at a time that you needed it. And then you could have been in a friendship for a long time, but once you're kind of not looking for them to play that role and you want to move forward together differently in a way where I don't need you really to play that role in me. Let's kind of go on this adventure of life together. And they're like, oh, well, now it's different. And I want to go find someone else to be my friend who is in that more shadowy or hurt energy or codependent energy, because I like them viewing me this way and I like playing that role in people's life. And I want to keep doing this, and I don't want to do life any differently. And so Pisces energy can kind of about listening to your intuition and going with the flow. And sometimes when we're kind of ready to move forward in life differently, other people aren't ready. And some people that you were in a relationship with, or could be in a relationship with, or have been, don't want you to be more independent from them. If you did play kind of a caregiver role, they wanted you to keep playing that role. Like if you have an adult child, but they want to keep repeating this pattern where you are parenting them. It's like, pumpkin, you're 25 or 45, it's time for you to kind of go build your own life, and they cannot like it. And then the relationship can go the other way where you are an adult child and a parent kind of doesn't want to give up that role of parenting you. And it's like, this causes a problem in our relationship because I am an adult and I am going to live my more independent life, and I'm going to live my life, and my life's going to be different than your life. And I live in a different decade and century maybe than you did. And, we all make mistakes, and I think if I'm conducting myself in a more just and fair, and I make my mistakes just like everybody else does, you know, quit being a parent. I'm not looking for a parent anymore. If you, want to treat me like an adult, like you treat other adults, and respect boundaries, we can keep moving forward together. So it can go both directions, right? But there are shadowy people who think it's just and fair to be more immature. People in their past have maybe indulged them in being more immature and self indulgent, and they like that type of relationship. And that's what motivates them. They want to repeat people indulging them in their poor behavior, male or female. And then again, they could use whatever these assets are that they have in the world, looks or money or physique, or I'll have sex with you, to try to manipulate people. But they hide from the fact that it really isn't from a nurturing, authentic, loving place. It's like a mental construct of creating this illusion that I'm this type of person so that people will be in a relationship with me. But it's not really the truth of who I am. I'm a little bit more about some other ulterior purpose of how I can benefit. And shadowy people are using their intuition to try to figure out if they were to maybe do kind of some unkind, unjust, unfair, kind of deceptive or manipulative types of things. If the person that they're in a relationship is going to kind of repeat some patterns that some other people in their life have. Where we don't really want to deal with the truth. We don't really want to call it out. We hope things will get better. And kind of, even though it might eat away at them, they keep wanting to put in work and effort to make the relationship work. Both Scorpio and Taurus and Leo are fixed sign energies, and when we get in something, high vibe people put a lot of work and effort to try to make something stable and abundant and balanced and loving, and to make things go with the flow. And sometimes there's shadowy people that are counting on those very traits and characteristics, that you'll keep going with the flow even when they're kind of being unjust, unfair, maybe a little hurtful or unkind or immature. It's like trying to kind of push the envelope. Well, can I do this? How will you react? Okay. Can I do this? How will you react? Can I do, it's like just pushing it further and further because they want to know, and high vibe people, I don't care to know where your boundary is with me, because I don't plan to push the boundaries, because I hold myself accountable and I maintain balance within myself. I'm motivated and inspired by justice and fairness. When I get in some kind of shadowy energy, I see the truth of it. I am inspired to work through it to figure out why I'm kind of motivated or feeling these certain ways and what is it triggering within me. I don't want to repeat some poor past patterns. I'm inspired to work together with people in a just and fair and loving way. And if something is eating away at me, I put in the work and effort to work through it, to offer love to it, to kind of free myself from it. I'm like my own caregiver. I am not codependent on other people to be a caregiver to me. Now, does that all take time? Yes, because when we're younger, I think we're all more codependent, and we're looking outside of ourselves for the answer to validate our worth and value, for people to love us, because we haven't learned. We grew up in families where people provided a lot of those things for us, and we're looking for other people like to take that role over in our life. And we got to go through some of these life experiences of realizing there's people who will take advantage of that or like us being in that energy, because they are too, but it kind of keeps us in more codependent energy. And high vibe people, just like they want to be independent of their more immature, shadowy nature, because high vibe energy, again, is being in high vibe fire sign energy, where you're authentically who you say you are. You're loving, you're warm, you're encouraging, you're inspired to go on this adventure to grow to your full potential. And when we're in more shadowy energy, our more worldly, egoic, fearful nature can make us keep repeating certain patterns for a long time, and we're kind of not growing to our full potential. And so I think some high vibe people have listened to their intuition, just like we have the free will to align with our more loving or our more shadowy nature. We have different people in our life who kind of represent those different energies and harness those energies differently. And I have the free will to choose who I invest more of my time, energy, and effort into. The people who are loving and encouraging of me, aren't trying to manipulate me or control me, or the people who might like me in more fear and insecurity or lust or greed or codependency or something. And and it takes time to learn all those lessons. And again, some of you are now very stable and grounded within yourself, is what High Vibe King of Pentacles represents. And you are who you say you are. Other people try to present themselves, I'm the stable, grounded, emotionally mature, loving person, but it could lack some substance. It's not really the truth of who they are. They are more motivated by themself or lust or greed or codependency, self-indulgence. And it takes time to get to know people. And I would say from your life experience, high vibe people are now listening more to their intuition, because we all had lessons learned about listening to our intuition, because we all think we're so smart that when we were younger, even though we were going to go do some things, and that could have been when you kind of had that voice in your head like, you shouldn't do this, this is a bad idea, you should go home now, but we did it anyway. And probably didn't work out the way we wanted. And so now we've learned, our intuition, just like we're part of the animal kingdom, and all the animals of the world have their own unique things. It's like, what is it? A porcupine has quills. A porcupine doesn't like, well, I don't know if I want to shoot my quill at that lion. I don't know. I really haven't used them, and a bat doesn't wonder if it should use its sonar, and, birds listen to their navigation system. We were given our intuition to help guide us in this world, and I think that came from high vibe energy source, just like our emotionally creative, inspired nature did, so we're not just an animal or a computer. And high vibe people have learned to listen to their intuition, and they have, and some people are, calling judgment on some people in their life who at one time they could have wanted a dream to come into reality with, and they had viewed them as being just and fair, and maybe they were, and people can kind of, at any time in our life, we can kind of get more tempted by our more shadow nature, lazy nature, or fearful nature, and we could realize some of those people have some healing to do. And we didn't want to repeat a certain pattern, so listening to their intuition, offering themselves that cup of love. They had thought a dream was going to come into reality, and emotionally, High Vibe Scorpio is working through the emotional confusion of it to get over the illusion of what we thought it was, or hoped it could be, or just the confusion of why some people are the way they are. If you're someone motivated and inspired by love, it's hard to understand that other people aren't, but I don't know. I guess high vibe people maybe have just more experience in it, believe they can pick themselves back up, but it's kind of like more defensive people. They don't let their more hopeful, believing, loving nature out to play. It is kind of like having a child, and they tell them, you can't go outside and play with those other kids, you get hurt, they could be mean, you need to stay in here. Well, would we really raise living child like that, but energetically, we have our own inner child nature. And some people don't, the more they don't live their more authentic life and their more hopeful, believing, loving nature kind of out to play, they're kind of maybe could have decided, I am aligning with my more immature worldly nature, which would be our more sickly nature of pride and ego and self-indulgence and all that stuff. And we just see that everybody has their free will, and in a world of duality, there's going to be people, and who knows, maybe everybody's got their issues, and, maybe that's their journey in life. And there are people that maybe volunteered to be that kind of person to help other people decide what they wanted to do. You gotta, if you have free will, you have to have all these different choices of different people to pick from to be in a relationship with. And they're the way they are, and we have the free will to keep staying in relationship with them if we want, or we can choose that I can love people, but if I don't think they're just and fair or loving, or they're maybe more emotionally shallow or superficial or bossy or controlling or intimidating, no. And then to get out of our ego about it, we're not the boss of the world. There's a bigger plan at play, and we just need to go with the flow, listen to our intuition about the different people in our life, wish people peace, don't get too entangled up in our ego, and keep believing that the true boss of the world has a plan for your life, and the divine knows what does drive and motivate certain people, what drives and motivates you, trying to get people in the right relationships that with people who are more on the same page as them, and not let these issues from your past keep manipulating you, to offer love to them, to work through those things, to free yourself from it, to keep moving forward and going with the flow of life. The truth sets you free. Leo is fire sign energy, dealing with the truth, or we can be in our ego. And in shadowy Pisces, we can live in illusion and in denial. Or we listen to our more intuitive, loving nature that I am not going to get the justice I deserve here. Both people have to take responsibility for themselves, maintain balance within themselves, hold themselves accountable. And if some people want to keep moving forward, repeating these old patterns where that's their comfort zone, then let them live their life that way. They just need to go stay in a relationship or go get in a relationship with people who are more on the same page as them. And that could be what they find emotionally fulfilling. You could find it oppressive and confining and limiting and restricting and superficial and shallow. So wish them peace and move on. High Vibe, the King of Pentacles, you've seen the truth. And you're ready to go with the flow and have this new beginning. Could you have taken time within yourself to work through all of that emotional confusion of that before you were ready to go out there in the world differently again or something? Yeah. Or to go get ready to go get a new job, or just put yourself out there more, or just feel more stable and grounded within yourself. And we want the quick fix when something doesn't work out the way we want. Some people do repeat some past patterns of indulging themselves in relationships, but not for the right reasons. And then, then they kind of get themselves in a relationship with people that they maybe never should have gotten into a relationship with to begin with. And then they kind of got to deal with maybe ending those relationships that they shouldn't have gotten into, and just all the hassle of it. Or they want to be an immature player and just indulge themselves, but create this illusion they're willing to be a more like take relationships to the next level, but that's really just an illusion they create. Well, then, they create this illusion because they want people to view them as this just and fair and whatever type of person. But then for some people, the dream never comes into reality. And that's when other people kind of realize, I think you just want to indulge yourself in relationships and you just create this illusion. And eventually people call judgment on them. I don't believe you are who you say you are. Or people realize that when they're in relationships with people who are more loving and encouraging, that really isn't what drives and motivates them. They're more about indulging themselves in the world and their ego and their image and their status. And people realize, I think you're more materialistically ego focused and superficial than I thought you were, And eventually people kind of see through the illusion. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Scorpio energy that have called judgment on, holding themselves accountable and others, and doing this work to maintain balance within themselves and to heal from issues from their past and people from their past, and working with people in their life who, in their intuition, tell them that they are who they say they are, and they are emotionally mature and stable and grounded and loving and authentic. What's coming up for them that they might, well, I would say judgment's going in your favor. What's coming up that they might not see coming? The Two of Wands, the Queen of Wands, and the Strength card. Why? Because of the Chariot and the Five of Wands. So, both the Five of Wands, and I view the Queen of Wands and the Strength card as Leo energy. We have the choice to keep moving forward. The Chariot can talk about how we're moving forward in life. We have the free will to keep moving forward with the competition, which is our more worldly, egoic nature. But high vibe people were inspired by love, and the Chariot talks about having victory. You are inspired by love, and the Chariot can talk about getting emotionally balanced within yourself. The Justice card talks about getting balanced within yourself. And love was the answer, because you have a dream. And you want to move forward in more emotionally balanced, just and fair relationships that are emotionally fulfilling and being more independent of your own shadowy nature and people who try to manipulate you or control you. And because of that, you had victory over your own shadow nature that tried to run your life. And you're like, no, I have the free will of which aspect of my dualistic nature is in the driver's seat of my life. And my more hopeful, believing, loving nature is going to be in the driver's seat. My shadow nature sits in the back seat. And it kicks and screams and whines and fusses and wants me to do other things in my life. And I offer it love and compassion. And I tell it everything's going to be okay. But we've already done things in the way of my shadow nature. And that didn't work out the way we wanted. So now we're going to do love. And we're going to temper our fears and insecurities and offer love to ourselves, where maybe before we didn't do that because we were in codependent energy, looking to other people to love us. And some of those people abused our loving nature and weren't just and fair with us. So no longer aligning with the competition. I need to love myself, temper my own fears and insecurities, stand up for myself and what I believe in. And I need to maintain balance and love within myself. And then the Five of Wands can be, from the Two of Wands to the Five of Wands, letting go of the Three of Wands, letting go of an old dream to give birth to a new dream. And working through my inner conflict about letting go of it, being inspired to move forward in my life. And I think as you move forward in that type of energy, other people see you moving forward in that energy. You're not taking action, thinking it's just and fair to take action more out of lust and greed and pride and ego and try to manipulate people or make yourself feel better by indulging in some poor habits. I mean, everything within moderation. The whole world is here for us to enjoy, but if we give those things that we might like to indulge in more power in our life or think they're the answer to our problems, that's when we can get caught up in entanglement with things that can drive our life off into the ditch. It's like, I love me. I am willing to be authentic and loving and encouraging to people. But if my intuition tells me that some people, they're not being authentic, they seem to operate still more from their egoic nature or immature nature or more indulgent nature. I've already been in relationships with people who are like that, and though I could be a little sad about it, I'm going to invest in truth and love and believe that that is the best course of action, and that I will, instead of investing my time, energy, and effort into people who I know aren't more on the same page as me, can I know lots of people, be friends with lots of people? Yeah. Who am I going to move forward with? The Five of Wands comes after the Four of Wands of like coming together in joy and celebration and having a new beginning, like more involved relationships or marriages and things like that. It's not going to be the people who I think are repeating some of these old patterns. I've already been there and done that. Nice to see you out. It was fun hanging out with you for a little bit, but I'm on my way. You know, everybody, and we're all just looking for people who are just more on the same page as us. And we can know people who are more immature, people who are more in these shadowy ways of being. We can know other people that are more stable and grounded. But, is it love? Well, then I'm not going to get in a relationship with you. Are you in a different relationship? Yep. Nope. I'm moving on. No drama. Plus, I don't want people to come be in a relationship with me in their shadow energy. People have to be authentic, balanced, and loving and inspired by truth and love. And I think as high vibe people keep moving forward in that energy, they're offering people truth and love, listening to their intuition about the people in their life. And I think as you move forward, you are going to, the people you have in your life that are in that energy are people you're moving forward with. I think as you move forward, you'll meet more people who are more on the same page as you. Because you are planting good seeds, you will reap an abundant harvest. Some people keep repeating an old pattern, hoping they can have like what you're manifesting. But those aren't the seeds they're planting. But again, they could try to get in a relationship with someone who's like that, and they want to move forward with them. And those people might move forward with them until those people see the truth that they're not who they say they are. And then those people have mental conflict and inner conflict about continuing to move forward with them. And eventually they might say, wait a minute, stop right there. What is your truth? What is your dream? How are you expecting these things to move forward? And if they seem to be trying to maybe confuse people about the truth, that's shadowy Pisces, trying to manipulate you, try to cause you inner conflict, it's like, no, I'm not doing that. What's coming up? High vibe people are really listening to their intuition, and because of that, they are moving forward, and judgment goes in your favor. So then the divine kind of like sees that you've learned the lessons you're meant to learn from this phase of life. You get to move to the next phase of life and have this brand new beginning. Other people who didn't hold themselves accountable aren't people or grow up and mature themselves. They're going to keep repeating that pattern while you move forward in life. So what's coming up for the shadowy people that they don't see coming? 4 cards not showing themselves because of the karma judgment card, which I kind of view along the line of adjudication and justice and Libra energy. Some people think, because, when we're in our more immature or prideful or whatever nature, we're not kind of seeing things clearly. They keep thinking things are going to go in their favor. But what they don't see coming is that they are going to experience some consequences, is what the judgment card can be. If you're kind of thinking it's just and fair to act and repeat some poor past patterns, other people in their life, their intuition is telling them that these people aren't who they say they are. They are not acting with character and integrity. They are trying to kind of manipulate and control people. And some other high vibe people in their life are going to call judgment on them. But what they don't see coming is there's kind of like bigger fish in the sea who are looking for someone just like them. Huh. You had like authentic, warm, loving, encouraging, supportive people that you could have moved forward with, and you didn't want to move forward with them? Interesting. So you got some issues? Maybe a little bit about ego and image is more important to you, or money? Perfect. I'll get in a relationship with you. Me too. And a shadowy relationship, if you're not being... A high vibe relationship would be that you do treat other people the way you like to be treated. A shadowy relationship is... If I have more of these things of the world that you value, because love wouldn't try to manipulate you, but if we're not going to do love, why are we in it? Is it your fear, your insecurity, your codependency? Are you looking for a caregiver? I'll play that role in your life for my own reasons. Or is status and ego and image what's most important to you? I'll be in a relationship with you for those reasons. But it might be someone who has those things of the world that some of these people want. And then, kind of what was good for the goose is good for the gander, I think. Some people, that is how they view life. And if they think they have more of these things of the world that people want, they have this illusion, that people should indulge them because that's how they view relationships. Whoever has more of these things of the world is the more privileged person in the relationship. Some of these people are going to end up in a relationship with someone who has more than them. In some way, they have more status, they have more social clout, they wear a better social mask, but they could know that they're more willing to stay in the relationship, more for the ego and the image. They're not requiring them to be in a more deep, meaningful relationship. They're not requiring them to maybe grow or heal or mature themselves, but they would maybe have to indulge that person. And then sometimes when the shoe's on the other foot, they might realize, kind of like seeing themselves reflected in someone else, like, oh shit, that's how I used to act. Oh shit, this must be how the person I was in a relationship used to feel. And it might eat away at them and make them wonder why, and find themselves trapped thinking they could control things, and they find themselves repeating a past pattern. But they might have a much harder time getting out of it because it is those things of the world that manipulate them, or the codependency. And if they get in a relationship with someone who also is more aligned with living life from their shadowy nature to some degree, then we have two people where neither one of them are kind of motivated to live their life differently. And then it can really be hard to get out of it. And it could, not very emotionally fulfilling and loving, but they could all create the illusion of how wonderful and loving it is. And they're experiencing some karma. What they could not be showing people is that when high vibe people leave their life, that they rejected the high vibe people because they don't harness those energies in a high vibe way. They might try to present themselves like they do, but they don't. And they try to hide that they actually harness these in a more shadowy way, but they don't want people to know it. But you can't hide the truth forever. The truth kind of rises to the surface. The Four of Pentacles, the Queen of Cups, the Page of Swords, and the Five of Pentacles. They've had people in their life, and they have people in their life probably right now between friends and family members who want to hold on to them, who love them, who want to be in a relationship with them, who are trying in that more hopeful, believing spirit to kind of maybe help them learn some lessons in life. The difference between the Four of Pentacles and the Five of Pentacles is that Ace of Pentacles. We all can be more fearful and afraid. We can all be more motivated and inspired by the world. We can all be more codependent. And some people still are looking to play a loving role in people's life, but they're hiding that they're more immature and have a lack mentality, and they're defensive to moving forward in life differently. So again, it's like to play that role in people's life, but then when those people want them to move forward in life differently, it's like, it's okay for you to heal and grow and mature yourself some, but not to where then you want me to heal or grow and mature myself. So that's where people can come across as being a little bit full of themselves. I don't have any lessons to learn. I have this certain status or image, or I come across like this certain type of person, and you're supposed to want to keep staying in a relationship with me, and I don't, which again can be why even loving people can get in relationships with people that are more out of balance, because then it doesn't challenge them to have to heal and grow and mature themselves like they would have to do if they were in a relationship with someone who is more on the same page. So, and I didn't figure that out till I was doing tarot myself, because I would have never viewed it from that perspective. But if you're a loving, nurturing person, why do you keep trying to change other people? And part of it can be because it doesn't challenge me to deal with my issues. It's always focused on other people changing. Well, the only person we can change is ourselves. So how about we move forward with people who inspire us to work through those issues, to believe in ourselves and free ourselves from things that manipulate us. And some of these high vibe people have people in their life right now, again, that are people who wanted to work together with them, but they want things to move forward. And they don't want to keep, in the Four of Pentacles, repeating this way of living life that they're afraid of letting go of. To maybe be willing, to heal or grow or mature themselves in some way. Or quit being more about themselves, and other people are supposed to just make their life being focused on them. And, that a love relationship is where it's not supposed to just be all about you. But for some people, that is their truth. I do want it to be all about me. I want to be indulged in a relationship. And I guess if they can find someone who is willing to do that, they just might be hiding that the people they try to create this illusion with could be and stay in a relationship with them for their ulterior purposes, and that both of them could be kind of defensive because neither one of them want to open up. And that we got 3 fire sign energies up here. 4, motivated by love. When you're motivated by love, you freely give of yourself. Otherwise, in shadowy Scorpio, it is a more superficial and shallow relationship, because it is more about being in it more because of the ego or the image or the stability or the security, or just to be in a relationship. And both people could kind of feel defensive, because in a way, it might have all these things of the world that look good, but kind of emotionally, they could feel kind of left out in the cold and like it's not very abundant, because neither one of them could be very loving, giving, nurturing people. If you both decide, I don't want to do love, I could get hurt, I'm kind of more about indulging myself, trying to use my resources to manipulate the other person to indulge me and love me, because I haven't learned to love me, to love other people. We have two people that are kind of not healthy. So, we'll leave it there, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.